Hey guys, welcome to Bastion Time. I'm your host Bastion. This is Nintendo News. Let's get to that news, and honestly this is basically Pokemon Go news, so if you don't want to hear about any of this stuff, you can skip this video, let's be honest. But basically we're rounding up all of the crazy, wild, wacky stories that have happened regarding Pokemon Go, and there are a lot, so let's get through these fast. Basically just the headlines. First of all, a gunman decided to try to rob a group of Pokemon Go players, not realizing that one of them also had a gun, and it ended up in a shootout where both the gunman and the Pokemon Go player were injured, but only superficially, so they're recovering, but then the police were able to apprehend this person, so that's good. Then there was one about a reporter who was at some sort of government speech, and he was caught playing Pokemon Go while the person was giving his speech or addressing the press, and he was like, "Oh, are you playing that Pokemon thing?" And the guy is like, "Yeah, just checking it." And then the guy goes back, "I'm sorry, I don't know who this fellow is. I'm pretty politically minded, but I'm not familiar with this particular individual." Anyways, he goes back to doing his addressing the press, and then at the end he's like, "So, did you catch one?" And the guy is like, "No, the signal's not very good." And the guy's like, sorry." Anyways, it is a very amusing video. You should definitely watch it. There's a link down there. There's also a tragic story about a very young man actually, who was shot while playing Pokemon Go and killed. If you want to read more about that, it's heartbreaking. There's a link down there for you. There's also a story about 4 cops who were caught playing Pokemon Go while on the job, and so now they're under investigation. That's a pretty interesting story too. If you want to read about it, there's a link down there. The infamous Florida Man. If you're not familiar, there's a whole Reddit devoted to Florida Man, because for whatever reason, plenty of crazy crimes happen in Florida, and they always start out with Florida Man, blah 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 blah. Well, in this case, Florida Man shoots at a bunch of Pokemon Go players. Thankfully, it doesn't kill any of them, but if you want to read about that, there's a link down there for you. There's also a story about 2 Marines who were off duty but playing Pokemon Go, and then witnessed an attempted murder and were able to apprehend that fellow. There have also been reports of various temples and museums, like a Holocaust museum, that have, for whatever reason, been identified as a Pokestop or a gym, and they're like, hey, this is not appropriate. We do not want people coming into such a solemn place playing Pokemon Go, which I totally understand. And so they have signs and things saying no thanks, and also they've attempted to contact the Pokemon Company and say, please do not make us a Pokestop or a gym, which is totally understandable. I'm sure, as many of you know, there are a lot of ways to game the system, to cheat in Pokemon Go. I'm not going to go into any of those because let's keep the game fair for all of us, right? I certainly am not going to use any of those cheats, but the developer, NIANTIC, or however you pronounce their name, is aware of this and has ways of detecting it, and they've been banning people who utilize these cheats, so be careful. There's even this annoying situation where some scammers are sending out emails to people who they suspect have Pokemon Go, saying, oh, it's going to go to a monthly service so that we can boost up our servers to prevent outages. Do not pay anybody any money for Pokemon Go except for through the app itself. There's no monthly service or anything, but of course I'm sure all of you need that. And then there's this New York assemblyman named FELIX ORTIZ who totally doesn't understand how Pokemon Go works and thinks that somehow you could use it to lure people to your location to then to cause them harm, to rob them or whatever, murder them. So he wants to put out legislation that like bans Pokemon Go or something insane like that. I didn't read through the whole thing, but that's the gist, and that's bonkers because he clearly doesn't understand how Pokemon Go works. He thinks that you could lure somebody to a bank and then rob them after they get their money, or I don't know. He just doesn't understand how the game works, what it's about, or anything, so his legislation is completely based on absolute misinformation. If you want to read about exactly what he wants to do, there's a link for you down there. But it's not all bad. There are several benefits to Pokemon Go, several good stories that have arisen. For instance, there's this one story about how many businesses are saying, actually, Pokemon Go is bringing in more customers than ever. We have a Pokestop here, we place lures, customers come in, we've got more customers than ever, it's awesome. So that's great. Also, there was a study put out where it's determined that people who use Pokemon Go, because it forces you to walk around, that's going to lower obesity rates, which is amazing. I know from personal experience, I was on like a half-hour Poke Walk hunting some Pokemon, and I saw some, let's just say it, obese individuals walking in the opposite direction, and I was looking at their phones, and I was like, I wonder if they're playing Pokemon Go. And after they passed me, one of them was like, dude, there's a Pidgey over there if you need it for your candy. And the other guy was like, no, I'm all good on Pidgey candy. And I was like, awesome, Pokemon Go is getting these guys out, walking, exercising. So that's great, in my opinion. Pokemon Go is doing a good job. That wasn't, of course, their intention, but that's what's happening, and it's awesome. Hopefully, the fad doesn't die out too soon for it to be useful. But anyways, that's it for this episode of Roundup Pokemon Go news. See you guys in a couple days for more news. Bye, guys.